Good morning and welcome to the gang. I am Oscar Zaake, and this morning we have the leader of the opposition on gang as a guest, as the leader of opposition. You're most welcome to the Capital Gang, the Right Honourable Joel Senyonyi.
Mwalimu, I don't feel like a guest.
Yeah.
Because
we'll put you in a guest chair.
Yeah, I feel like you are discriminating against me. But I'm happy to be here. Yes. Always a pleasure.
And I'm only a bit concerned. I did not see the convoy. I've not seen the black SUV. I don't know. All the package yours will come together.
You'll be fine. I am the convoy myself.
Maybe your convoy is coming. I don't know. After what's happened to say?
Hey, it's going to find me, you mean?
What has happened to the Right Honourable's convoy?
I wouldn't know.
Those things should not confuse you.
Sometimes it's okay.
I remember a friend of mine is a minister. We belong to the same social club. So one time on Sunday, he was driving. There's a small car. Is it called Dispatch or something like that? Something like that.
Those ones you don't know. Those little ones.
Yeah. Yes, those ones.
Yes.
So he drove in, and when he came out, he was alone. Then I asked him what. He said, "My brother, this is my day. I'm up to something." I'm up to something.
Yeah, but now Honorable Katundu might be insinuating.
I am not insinuating anything. Lopez just is a free day for him. And I think he wants.
Yeah, it's not necessary all the time.
He wants to feel a joy today in town.
Yes,
see him in a t-shirt, in jeans.
Yes.
It's okay.
You want to be free.
I am safe.
And also to prepare for when you're not lob.
You see, these things need not to get into our heads.
Yeah.
Sometimes they get into your head, you get consumed by them.
Yeah.
So the day you're told you can't be lob anymore,
at the
you're
same
thinking,
time,
how does this happen? But it's not just physically, mentally. You've got to disabuse yourself mentally.
But the problem is, they might not be here, but they are here.
Oh.
Yeah, because that's how security works anyway.
but isn't that how it's
What's
supposed
important
to work?
is that me
instead of jumping off pickups and so on.
Yeah, sometimes you don't need all that braggados and
but they must be around for sure, I can assure you.
I don't know. But me, I'm here.
Honorable Katesh, are you plotting to entice him with a package that will include convoy and everything? Honorable Semuju?
Yeah?
Yes. What's happened to the LOP convoy?
That's part of the topic.
Let's clear it.
I'm his driver.
How you ask him? Or are you part of the security detail?
You might be part of a committee that allocates.
One time, by the way, I met Gilbert of Kenya on Entebbe Road in a Mercedes-Benz alone. He was the one driving when he was vice president. You remind me the story of that white man who became acting president in, was it Zambia?
Yes, Zambia.
He was complaining that I am like a prisoner. I woke up, I wanted to go away. They jumped on vehicle, started chasing me like I had stolen something. And he said he was not used to that sort of life.
Yeah.
Security in Uganda and the convoys, sometimes not necessarily the security. Of course, security people will tell you, remember when Bet Kame was complaining here that they are not even observing traffic lights. And he said, I'm not the one instructing them to do that. But it's possible sometimes. Yeah.
I was once in Chris Bariomunsi's car and in traffic in Chireka, where you get it. You can imagine. Then sirens, then what? I just felt like, can I jump out and take a boda now? You have sirens, people are looking at you. Anyway, I have another journalist, if I call Senyonyi, Semuju, journalist, and I also have Wandera. Go to that microphone, Derek. Welcome to Gang, Derek Wandera. We've been missing you a while.
Thank you, Oscar. I'm just overwhelmed that you put me in the chair of
of journalists.
No. He put me in the chair of Ofon.
No, that's not Ofon.
Okay, he put me on the side of NRM.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Ivan Rugambwa.
But since I'm a journalist, I can sit either way. I can sit anywhere.
Now you are firmly in the NRM wing.
In the NRM wing.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I'm going to support NRM on the show, but we see what happens. Thank you, Oscar, for having me.
Yes, they're registering people. But let's kick off with you, Derek, with Makerere University. So 1,000 dropouts. Sometimes you think that's criminal. And then the allegation is they are dropping out because they've lost their money to betting companies.
Yeah, Oscar, last week I think that story is when it broke with Professor Barnabas Nawangwe, indicating that about 900 students drop out every year, and he pegs it on sports betting and goes on to give details of some of the cases of betting and stuff. And as a journalist, I know that I've encountered stories of students who do sports betting as a living. I'm also
as a living.
As a living. And I'm not very many years away from university. About 8 or so, I was in university, and I also witnessed students betting as their daily life and things like that. But I want to take the report with a pinch of salt, because I also have seen students who genuinely drop out because they don't have money. I want to give you a case in scenario of the last graduation. There is a student who graduated 9 years after sitting for exams repeatedly, and either failing to make it in terms of tuition a certain term, or scoring low points in certain course units. And that student is a former leader of the university. That's Papaweri. He graduated after nine years.
Is there a cutoff?
Pardon?
Is there a cutoff and saying if you've not?
Yeah, there is a cutoff, but I think it was explained by the vice chancellor that he had not reached the cutoff. There is certainly a cutoff, but he had not reached it. So I know for sure that is one of the students who can be as resilient as possible.
9 years.
9 years, you continue still pushing. I know that there are people who are going to give up after 3 or 4 years. So professors' analysis, be it as it may, I think it's an exaggeration. Yes, there are cases of there are very huge, many cases of sports betting in universities and high school even, but I don't think it can entirely account for the 900 dropouts of students from university. So I know that there are parents out there who struggle, because I know that Makerere University almost increases fees every other year when students are going in. Not only Makerere University, but many universities across the country. And there are parents who are genuinely constrained by those increments every year. And I don't want to take it that this is just when you look at figures about Makerere University brings in admits about anywhere about 12 to 13,000 students every year. Private, yes. And when you look at the graduation list, for instance, of this year, about 11,000 students graduated. So, yeah, you can see that about 2,000, 1,000 or thereabout drop out.
No. But I mean, if you think of the government sponsorship, so that means about 3,000 have dropped out.
Yes, but then I don't think that it entirely is about sports betting. Because, for instance, why would a student who is government sponsored drop out of school? There must be very many issues that surround
those are the few.
Yeah, sure.
Let's go to Katesh here of NRM. Maybe we'll give you double time every time you speak. But this would say Omulembegwa NRM. You are reigning over every corner in urban place, there is a sports betting shop. So the Vice Chancellor may have been right that students are dropping out because of sports betting.
I think that looking at it from just the university angle, I think the problem could be bigger than just the students. I know that we have got the law that was passed in 2016, the Lotteries and Gaming Act. We have got the National Gaming Board that issues the licenses to casinos, gaming and betting and lottery companies. And specifically in that law, the age that is allowed, the minimum age, it must be 25 years actually and above to participate in all this betting. But I am one of those who think that that industry needs to be tightly regulated, because if you look at the people who are involved in betting, even if you go outside the universities, you go to small towns up country, even the kids of 18 years are involved. The law talks about 25 years. So this could be something bigger than just the students dropout. I remember when I was in campaigns, I encountered a case of a man who actually, a lady who said the man had taken away some of the household items and given them to the betting companies. So it is something that should ignite discussion about, one, how are we licensing these companies, and how are we monitoring, how is the board monitoring these companies. But also, Oscar and colleagues, there is a problem of course, online betting is now widespread. And so I don't know whether our law and our board actually...
It is actually, I encountered it recently. You just get your phone out,
exactly,
register with these companies and bang.
So how is the current domestic law that regulates gaming and boarding and betting? What is its overarching control over the online business of betting and gambling? Because if they do not have control, then you cannot even talk about the age limit you are talking about. A child of 10 years can go online. They have access to smartphones. They can go on and start gambling. And so it's a matter that I think the responsible government agency, the National Gaming and Lotteries Board, need to look at, to tighten the regulations. And it is one of those things that is creating a lot of idleness. I don't know what kind of productivity is betting. When you go and bet, what have you produced? I'm someone who believes in production.
Energy. How have you engaged yourself?
You create, you innovate. But gaming, you are just taking money. It is just saturating, and it's creating a lot of idleness in the country. Where one of our biggest problem is unproductive population. You wake up in the morning and your job is betting, not manufacturing something or not innovating something. That's a very, very dangerous issue for our country. So it has to be tightly looked at, and I think even us as legislators need to pick it up.
You were in the tax body previously. Were you earning anything? Does the tax body get any money from betting?
Yes, there is money that comes from that industry. But again, it is a question of our tax policy department in the ministry analyzing, looking at the cost benefit. How much money, if you are going to license 100 companies for betting and you expect to collect, say, 50 billion, what is the opportunity cost for a gone? Having a lot of money,
idle youth.
So the policy of government needs, you don't need to look at it from the revenue generated out of it, but more about how does it encourage the growth of the economy, the productivity of the economy. For me, that's the study that needs to be done, examined, so that we are able to make the industry grow, but under serious and strict regulation, because it can be a very big problem for the youth. And we have one of the youngest population in this country.
Leader of opposition, Honorable Senyonyi.
Oscar, Makerere, especially Makerere, because it attracts many students. I remember back then when we were applying to join, those that didn't get Makerere and got elsewhere, they were crying because they felt like failures. So many a young person will want to go to Makerere, so they'll have too many of them there. And the challenges are numerous, stemming from missing marks. For example, people miss marks. Some, as a mistake. In other cases, it's deliberate, as we have come to see. Either a lecturer, is hiding or deliberately failing the student for many different reasons. Either they want money or sex. All of these things have been out there. And so students, suffer from many challenges. Some will give up along the way. Some, it could be tuition. The challenges are numerous. But now that they seem to want to tie it to sports betting, last year, when I was still chairperson of COSASE, we inquired into the Lotteries and Gaming Regulatory Board.
By the way, I should tell you,
yes,
my mother has sent you a message that God is your convoy.
That God is my?
Convoy. Don't worry.
That's very important. Thank you, Mama. That's the reality, eh?
Yes.
The Bible, and I believe there is a similar or something similar as a verse in the Quran, that when God is not watching over a city, those that watch over it do so in vain. So I'm sure there is a Quran resemblance of a scripture. But anyhow, so we inquired into this board and we found many disturbing issues at the time. One, many of the machines that are operating in town, they are fake, they are tinkered with. You just can never win because they tamper with them. These are business people that want to make money. So you keep putting in money, you will not win because they tamper with them. Now, the regulators, these board fellows, they confiscate the machines, but then the operators pay them some money, and so they release the machines back to them. And these are all things we discovered. There's a warehouse where they would take them, and then in the night, they go and they retrieve the machine, so they keep operating.
So it's an interesting say that again. So the regulators find out that these machines don't work and no one is winning. They come
because they have tampered with them deliberately. You see the way somebody in a shop can tamper with a weighing scale. What should be 5 kilos is
4.
Is like 4. Because they've tampered with it. So you're paying for 5 kilos and yet you're getting 3.5 or 4. So even these operators, they tamper with the machines in such a way that you just cannot win. These people keep going to bet. You'll keep putting money, but you will not win. So they'll make money a lot more. So they confiscate them because as regulators, they're meant to make sure that, there's fair play and that they conform to the standards, as it were. So when they are confiscated, they take them to warehouses and then they retrieve them. There was a particular interesting case of a warehouse where they retrieved them from. And now, the owner of the warehouse blew the whistle saying, wait a minute, I don't want to be in trouble. I have kept these things because you brought them, having confiscated them. Now they are being released in the night. Let it be on record that I did not participate in this. And so many young people will blow their money. They'll get depressed. They'll sell all they have, whether it be school fees, tuition, and so on. Others selling whatever they do have, hoping to make money in betting, and it just cannot happen. Among other numerous challenges with this particular sector. After our report, again, like is the case, you table these reports, they promise to take action, not much happens. But the bigger picture is we have many young people that do not have work. And so they think by betting, I'll make some money. We need to deal with that as a country. It's increasing. Even those that have some work, whether it be border riders or even the elite, somebody's thinking, I'm not making enough money. I can make a little more here. So they inject much of their money in betting and nothing good comes out for them. It's something we need to deal with as a country.
Honorable Semuju? And I hope you not say that there's a betting company inside the university itself.
I don't know.
I think that would be taking a biscuit, but maybe they're in Wandegea.
I read the story. For me, the big problem was the number of students that are unable to complete. The time I was at the university, there are students who dropped out mainly because of money. Either the students themselves or their parents were sort of trying their luck. If they find money for registering the first semester, they will send students. And then along the way, they can't find the money. So a number dropped out actually because they are unable to pay tuition. And I think to sit either for exams or end of year, you are supposed to have cleared. But there are also cases of indiscipline. Students who go to the university, use the money to marry, if I use the word to marry, and then they can't find the money. I don't believe that the number the Vice Chancellor is giving is the number that is solely attributed to sports betting. He may have given the number of students not completing, and in his own view, the dominant factor there is sports betting. I don't know. It needs to be disaggregated to know which students are not completing. And we have had issues also with the students' loan scheme. Government started a students' loan scheme for students to access money, and the understanding was that when you complete university and get employed, you will begin repaying. It's a loan. But either the last 2 years or last financial year, there was no money towards that students' loan scheme. The minister said they will look for the money. Yesterday, we had an MP from Bugisu was complaining that the beneficiary were from one region. And he said what they have now done, they are now putting religious names. So you will not know that the beneficiaries are from one region. And then the minister said they are going to investigate Jesse Muyingo, and then they will report to Parliament. So my interest is to have this figure disaggregated. I am not sure that the 900 have dropped out just because they all went to use the money for betting. But betting in itself is a problem. I remember, I don't know who it was, but he said if you go to a country and there are more people in the halls of sports betting more than those who are in banks, you know that there is a problem. And he said you go and look. They are there. Every sports betting hall is full. But you go to banks and there are no people. So he said if that's the dominant activity in the financial sector, then you know you are in trouble. I don't know. The regulations cannot stop people from betting as long as they are expecting that they will get something out of it. They will keep going there. If you come to my constituency, almost every after half a kilometer or even a quarter, you find sports betting.
It's actually the same everywhere in Kampala.
Yeah. So
a quarter of a kilometer, impossible. They are very near each other.
Yeah. So in fact, new buildings are occupied more by sports betting than any other business. So even buildings that you think will not attract customers, you will find there. And on the day you have Premier League and other football, those things are full. All the borders are packed outside and everybody is inside. And they start betting either a day before and intensify on the day a particular match is going to be played. I don't know whether government is regulating or they are interested in the money that Kateshi was talking about, that as long as they pay either 50 or 60 billion. So here it's an industry that is growing very, very fast, and I don't see the appetite by government to regulate it.
Honorable Katonto. I don't know, the way it is picking up as a culture is very dangerous, you'd think, because as Katesh first said, you have people who are youthful, are not engaging in activity, and spending a lot of time in betting shops, but also adults going to there and place bets.
That is true. You know, when you see, for example, when there is a football match, especially the English Premier going on, and you see so many people going to watch a match, don't think they're interested in the sport. It's about what they are putting and whether they're going to get money or not. What on the streets they say kapapula, but they say yeah kapapula. But let me tell you what other jurisdictions have started doing. Lottery and betting should be for public purposes. For example, you say we need to raise 300 billion to build a hospital. How can we raise this money? Then we can authorize a lottery, government can get in touch with the private investors, agree on the sharing of the monies coming, and you can have money collected from the public for no consideration. Because if I were to pay money to my brother here, the journalist, I should expect something in return. But if I say I'm paying, but I may not get any value in return, that certainly can't be correct. So betting should be for public good. Then you can collect money from the public, but that money eventually, even if an individual has not gotten anything out of it, there is a there is a public hospital, there is a public road, and so on. That should be the area where we should have betting. But having said that, of course, I am happy that Professor Nawanga has raised this. We need to congratulate him. However, let us take the debate a little bit further. Between primary 1, how many people enroll? And by the time they reach primary 7, how many people sit for primary leaving examinations? Have we as a ministry, have we as a country discussed it and tried to address the issues of dropouts at primary level? Then you go at high school level, between senior 1 to senior 6. Why do people drop out? Now, we are looking at university, but we've not even addressed the primary, the lower end, Oscar. Even you people, you teachers at high school, you know, there are a lot of dropouts. So
incredibly,
what we need is an interrogation. We need a research. We need an investigation. And by the time Professor Nawanga comes out, I mean, the university is full of researchers because that's what they are supposed to do anyway. So by now, you should have told us, excuse me, our research shows, 1, betting is this. Lack of fees is this. Indiscipline is this. I'll give you an example, a practical one. For those of us who are in public offices, especially politicians, we have these people coming to us literally every day. Fees, fees, fees. Fees is part of our problem, our challenge. Not of our biological children, of those we have adopted, but purely almost all the constituents' children are our children. If a parent fails to get fees, he runs to a political leader. Now, this is what I found out, Oscar. You find this parent in Bugwel. His senior 6 girl or boy passes to join the university, and he has only money for 1 semester. And he gets this fellow enrolled. The second semester, he sells land. The third semester, now that's a problem. Now they start running to all of us. So you just see that maybe I can assist in 1 semester, or even that semester I'll pay half, but I'll not assist in the other semesters. So eventually those people are dropping out. Why? Because at that level, we have not sensitized the population that it is not necessarily a university degree that matters. This kid of yours can actually go to another cheaper or a lower course, but eventually he can upgrade after he has started working and so on. So you've got so many parents who cannot afford, but they have already enrolled. And by now, I thought our researchers, the brilliant guys at university, professors, doctors, researchers, all those titles they want to call themselves, they have done a research. And we need papers on this. And we need figures. And Minister of Education should also know. Because, for example, at primary level, how many people does UPE say has enrolled?
It's usually 2 million.
2 million. How many seat P7? 700,000.
Yeah.
So where?
Round off to 800,000.
800,000. So we have a 1.2 million people who have dropped out.
Ask about S4.
S4?
Another 300 dropouts.
And now you take 700, no, 800?
Yeah.
Senior 1.
Yes.
By the time you reach senior 4,
They're about 500,000.
they are about
Nearly
500,000.
600, yes.
Now, how many enroll at senior 6?
About 300,000.
300. How many sit A-level exams?
About 300. So about 200,000.
200. So 100 drop out.
Right.
So really, it is a real problem right from the bottom. And what we need is an interrogation. And maybe it's time for policymakers, the relevant committee of parliament to look into it. We also need the Minister of
Take
Education.
it further. Then the ones who have graduated, actually, how many go and find work?
Yeah,
But also,
How many sit at home?
also in Shema, we try to do some kind of study. As you look at the dropout,
the pyramid
the pyramid, the biggest dropout percentage is the girls.
is the girls.
So there has to be a study that looks at all these things.
And Oscar, if you are planning for
So
the
you're saying
education
what's the
system,
biggest one?
When you look at the pyramid in terms of the dropout, as you go up, the biggest number, the largest number that's dropping out are the girls. So if you started with 100 boys and 100 girls in P1, by P7 you will have 50, but the bigger portion that is remaining will be boys.
In school? Yes.
Yeah. So really, if you are running the Ministry of Education today, these are the critical issues, because you can't just say we are UP is there, AUS is there, university, and you are not addressing really what are the impediments there or what are the challenges the whole system is having. And Professor Nawang, I hope is listening, or somebody, any professor at a university is listening. Please get this country a favor and do research and tell us what is the problem. Is there a problem? Yes. What is the cause of this problem? We can only speculate. We now need details.
The Honorable Senyonyi, sorry, I didn't add right, Honorable.
But, you know, I find it interesting when colleagues in Parliament introduce themselves as, my name is Honorable so-and-so. That's not your name. My name is not Honorable Joel Senyonyi. My name is Joel Senyonyi. And some get offended when you don't add the title. Just like I see people nowadays calling themselves, I'm Dr. So-and-so, because they've got some honorary doctorate from I don't know where. Some even buy them. There was a scandal some time back. People went to some university, was it in China or where? And they paid the Balams, the Who's. Anyhow, there are some fake ones that do. So my name is Joel Senyonyi.
Yes. Is it a problem of unemployment, or is it a problem of seeking money? Some youth maybe think you can accumulate money quickly and be Abdu Katundu.
People are desperate, Oscar. There could be those who are, you could say, they are a bit greedy or whatever the case might be, but people are desperate. Majority of those that you find in these betting shops, which are all over the place, by the way, as Honorable Semuju was saying, it is ordinary folks, border riders. You find people there who are ordinary folks. They think this is going to be my break-even point. So that's the challenge. There could be, especially maybe in these casinos, people who have made a bit of money and maybe they are addicted to this thing. There are others, but the vast majority of those in these sports betting things are ordinary poor people who are thinking, with my 1,000, and sometimes it's not much, it is 1,000, they think I'll make 3,000, and then they'll come back tomorrow, and again and again and again and again. Once in a while they might win some 5K, and so the person is hooked. He's thinking, hey, if I'm able to win 5,000 today, that means I can win a lot more. So they'll keep coming, so it's deliberate. It's like a hook, and they'll do it once in a while. You'll get something little, and you'll keep coming back. You'll keep coming back. I know somebody who was addicted to betting, and they had to eventually be taken to rehab. This is, somebody I know from some circles somewhere, because they were addicted to this thing. This fellow sold everything of theirs. They then began to steal from relatives, so you're there, you leave your handbag around, before you know it, you can't see it. But so the person is addicted because they're thinking, I must do all I can to have some money to go and bet. So it gets to those levels. But the major challenge is young people are desperate. They are thinking, I can't get a job. I've been to school, I have a degree, or whatever the case might be. Everywhere I apply, nothing is happening. So they're thinking, let me be creative. And it's a huge problem that we need to deal with.
Honorable Semuju, there's a Nelson Mwebaze on Twitter, on X, formerly Twitter, says the challenge with Makerere started when universities scrapped off some policies termed as non-academic, for example, food in halls of residence. And says you might be interested to find out that it is government students that are dropping out the most. After getting government sponsorship, they tend to relax or not realize that there are other expenses.
No, that's not true. At least the time was at Makerere. I don't know of any case of a government student
dropping out
because the charges were...
Some of us, when we were at Makerere, we'd never heard of that thing called government or private sponsorship.
Even this thing called dropout.
Yeah.
The charges were...
It was only by days.
Yes. The charges were minimal. You pay for ID, you pay for what. In fact, one time we had a very big demonstration. We were opposed to paying for anything. I don't remember the year I was at the university, any government-sponsored student who dropped out. Majority who dropped out was on account of failure to find money to pay tuition. The point I think he makes of policies, because students were engaged in all sorts of businesses, including selling food. At the time I was there, they are running kiosks around the gate and outside the fence of Makerere University, because students there tend to do a lot of things. If the university allow, I don't know these days, we are those who are doing engineering, they are the ones repairing all fridges and the TV for the whole of Wandegea. Maybe the education system will also need to change at one stage and allow students to go out and work. Because a bulk of those who are on evening programs were people who are working in town, and then they come to study in the evening. But most of the day students, you go and study, and if, for example, your lectures are ending at midday, so you have a whole afternoon doing nothing. Maybe that's why they even end up in sports betting. Maybe the university should be very creative in trying to find jobs. I remember Kevin Ariro, with whom we started Observer, gave us a story when he was in Scotland. The university was the one going out to look for jobs, for research work, for the students. So they were grouping students and then getting jobs for them. I think in Makerere Nawanga is only waiting for tuition. He doesn't bother that he can go out and look for work for students. These NRM people are giving a lot of money for registration. So you go and look for NIRA. I think they have recruited more than 100,000. I think periodically the university can engage companies to employ students and get money. Other than, because student, you are vulnerable when you are alone. But if it's Makerere negotiating and the money is paid direct, other than telling us about, and I'm not saying it's a crime, but other than telling us about those who are dropping out because of sports betting, the university should try to engage the business community, government, try to find some jobs for, and then make sure that the programs allow them to go and work. Because I think Makerere doesn't even think that someone should be working. Even when they are doing their programs, they will occupy you full time, even when it's not necessary.
Yeah.
Because for me, I was working for Monitor. But sometimes you have a lecture, you need to go and find a story.
But Oscar, I think somebody misses a point. He was working for Monitor. That was like internship.
No. I was working
for money
all through. Yes,
but you know
But I was being inconvenienced. I was being inconvenienced by the Makerere program. Yeah.
But when I was teaching at Makerere, I did teach some people who were working.
Because you're also doing education.
Anyway.
So, internship. You get it. And because you are training and the job you are doing actually is part of your training. So that shouldn't be a problem. But let me tell you why.
These are what you call
let me tell you
mature.
mischief. Let me tell you mischief. The mischief is sometimes when you have a student, let him concentrate. He might get distracted so much that he even forgets about his studies. That is also a real danger. So you must be careful by saying, students now should go start working and so on. Then you have all people in town, they don't have enough time to concentrate on their studies.
I don't know. But Derek and Janice here, BMK Gift, a regular listener, says here that on X, formerly Twitter, I didn't know that at Semoyam Soke is this naive not to know that there are thousands of old men out there who do betting, and most especially akapapula, for a living, and the majority have families.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Very true.
Very true. I live in a newsroom where I have colleagues who not only
Really?
bet, but they are brand ambassadors for these betting companies.
Wow.
And they get a lot of money out of it, probably even much more than they get from the newsroom. So it's just about the evil part of it that gets to the young ones. And the Honorable Katesh talks about regulation. How much can it go? How far can regulation go? Because when it gets to students, a student who is seated in class from 10 a.m. to 6, others even go up to 8 p.m. of studying the entire day. And then their parents cannot, for instance, provide for them meals or even clothing. Students who are at university like to change clothes, like to wear some fancy shoes and stuff. And some of them, they get time to get out of university on weekends to go and party and things like that. If a student is held in class for over 13 hours of study and they do not have anything they are bringing to themselves in terms of value, what are they going to resort to when they have 2,000 and they are seeing all these betting companies around them, half a kilometer or even quarter kilometer away from them? One of the things they are going to do is to accumulate that 1,000, maybe to 5,000 and stuff. And as we were discussing here, people have been sending me messages that there is a person who has built a huge house from sports betting, a house worth 120 million. And I said, can you share some details? Then they said they can be able to share. So sports betting has become a job. Because, of course, apart from the fact that they employ, sports betting houses employ the youth in terms of running them, but also people who work, who even go there to bet. Some have gotten money. Because, for instance, when the Honorable was talking about fiddling around with the machines and stuff like that, I've seen it myself. I have never betted, but I have done a story about sports betting, how it almost took a life of someone, and they were hanging themselves because they had lost about 60,000, and it was somewhere in the village in Mayuge. So there are people who are in these offices, for instance, at Capital, and Oscar, you might be surprised that here at Capital there are people who are getting more money from betting than they are getting from Capital. And so is it from all the other houses. That's very true, by the way.
I would be surprised.
But Oscar, that is how the industry works.
Yeah.
To entice more people to bet, there must be somebody whom they show that is winning and really is prosperous. That's how the industry works. Then the innocent, vulnerable will now start walking in there and they start also betting. So there should be somebody who will benefit. There's no doubt about that.
And the people who normally win in sports betting are
very few.
They are not these.
Extremely very
they are not these ordinary ones from universities and stuff. You'll find, I know of an artist who has always betted every weekend when Arsenal is going to play in this country.
Leave Arsenal out of this.
And I'm a fan of Arsenal, and each time he puts his money on Arsenal wins, and he goes home. And you know, these days Arsenal is winning, like even when they don't want to win, they win. So
you say it again.
So I know big people in this country who are working in very huge companies and corporate companies, and they bet. But it has the evil in it, especially the regulatory part of it, in terms of age, in terms of who accesses them, where are they coming from, and how much is being invested in that kind of stuff.
Honorable Katesh, you close this topic out, and the question I put to you is, should we go back to Honorable Sarah Pendi and persuade her to promote another bill instead of the one she's promoting, and maybe look at betting? Because if betting is insidious, getting into the whole society, it's a problem.
I'm not a support of bills which just come up by emotions and no studies. So even as we talk about this one, it has to be informed by a study. I want to tell you, my biggest problem with betting is that it does not produce money. Money is just transferring itself around people without value addition. You know what we call value addition. I've been to countries where you see a population that is productive. Everybody wakes up trying to do something. In the villages, if you move around a country, you find people have got land, they have abandoned land. By morning, they are on sports betting companies. This is not it's not going to take us anywhere. If someone is winning 150 million, so where is it coming from? It has come from Oscar, from Katesh, so it is a symptom of unproductive population. There has to be a lot of thought process into the regulation, and for me the threat is even online. That if we are unable to control the online, then you have everybody. I don't mind these rich people betting and losing their money on Arsenal and what. But the problem is when it goes down to the lower, our people in the villages. You find a small trading center in my constituency, a very small town, has a sports betting company there. And then you ask yourself, what is the... And some of these people call themselves investors. I remember one time when I was a commissioner, one of the MPs, whom I will not mention, he was he's no longer an MP. He was from northern region. He came with a lot of machines, and when they told him the taxes to pay, he says, but I'm an investor. I said, what investment? I'm going to put sports betting. And I asked him, do you really make? He says, there is a lot of money. We have so many people we are targeting. That is not the kind of business. We need to advocate for productivity for our young people, and there has to be regulation. So my final take is that the responsible people need to do a lot of study around this industry, so that there is a policy regulation that allows it to flourish if it is positively contributing to the economy, but we mitigate the risks, especially to the young people.
And Oscar, you see, what happens that many countries which are rich, their citizens have disposable income. They can afford to be in the US. They have hit a minimum level, a threshold, so they can afford to play around with money and so on. But where you have 80% of your citizens trying to scratch to earn a living, and you are telling them now throw out money like that without any value in return, or what lawyers call consideration, that is a very, very big problem. So we copy some of this. By the way, in the US, you go to Las Vegas, there are people, those guys have that money, they have that income, which they can throw around and so on. Yes, it's a residual income. They have earned it. Here, you are talking about a student who is betting his own fees. I know the parent has even sold land, and he has no more land to sell. And here is a stupid, bad-mannered boy or girl. He's now betting the fees. So really, you need public protection.
Yeah. The final message on this, Joachim says, our veteran journal, yes, says there are enough natural resources in form of public land, construction materials and water to build and facilitate the provision of free education to all Uganda's children. We just need our government managers to start thinking instead of outsourcing the thinking process to foreign money lenders. Every kid should drop in, no dropping out. Let's stop for a quick break and we'll go to LOP and NUP.
The Capital Gang on 91.3 Capital FM. The Capital Gang on 91.3 Capital FM.
Welcome back from the break. This is the Capital Gang. And I have a note here from Waswa. It says, at Semoyamsoke, on a light note, isn't life in Uganda one big betting story? From politicians, preachers, and now add on NUP. Right Honorable Joe Senyonyi, I could say Parliament right now is the gift that keeps giving. When I said the programs, after speaking to you and everything, then the next thing, I saw Honorable Sechikubo also now trending on the floor and the speaker's response. But let's start with the NUP wishing to remove a commissioner. Thinking about Uganda is a life of betting, because the LOP is a lawyer. The one that was taken off is a lawyer. So you're engaging in an activity in which you know you may not succeed. What is the rationale behind it?
Oscar, I don't know. Maybe for want of time, I might not go entirely to the genesis, but bits
we know a lot of
here.
the genesis.
Yeah. We did come to... First of all, we know exactly what we are doing. I know people have talked about the law. We know what the law says regarding removal of a commissioner. We know it like the back of our hand.
I like the way you say with great confidence that you know what you are doing.
Without a doubt.
Okay.
Without a doubt. Just for the avoidance of doubt.
You have to recruit us into the feeling that you know what you're doing.
Oh, yes. We know the law. We know the politics. Because it's a political party handling this, and we are political actors and so on. But to answer your question straight, we know exactly what we are doing.
So what are you doing?
We are seeking to remove our commissioner.
Right.
That's what we are doing.
Seeking to remove your commissioner and putting back another nominating another MP for commissioner.
Yes.
Why do you think you will succeed?
Why do you think we won't succeed?
Because of rules and
because of the rules.
Yeah.
And I have told you.
And they're in front of us.
The rules and the law, we know. And what we are doing, we know.
And so there's another way of removing a commissioner that does not involve these particular rules, in your opinion?
The rules are in place. Don't get mixed up by them.
Yeah.
They are in place. As a party, we seconded this person. The party's neck seconded him to LOP, eventually to commissioner. And so this is a vote of no confidence. After all that has been happening, which, like you're saying, you know the genesis, and so you don't want me to get into it. Yeah, so we are saying this is a vote of no confidence, and it's well within our rights. do so.
So you're playing a David versus Goliath game, or
Who is Goliath and who is David?
you are David, and Goliath are the other numbers. Is that what you're playing? Or
Well, now that you use that story, you know how it ended with David and Goliath.
this is what I'm saying. Is that what you're thinking, or are you into some kind of miracle cult where you envisage a miracle is going to happen?
Without probably preempting, in the next couple of days, you will see a lot happening. But I think by and large, what's important is to say that as leaders, we must be accountable. We must be honest. We're accountable to the people. And that's important. There's been a lot of defense regarding this particular issue. You know, as members of parliament and as leaders, we earn money. We earn a salary, we earn allowances, and so on and so forth. These things that are structured. When another day we can debate about how much those are, you know, whether it be our salaries and our allowances. MPs are some of the best paid people in this country. Of course, MPs will also tell you, well, we are government in our areas. Where you have an absentee government, the MP is the government. The MP is building roads, is buying medicine for the hospitals and medical equipment, and doing all manner of things which are not their responsibility. Oscar, there was a time when nearly every 2 months there was an MP in jail. Luckily, a number of them are not as known, so it would not make so much news, but we would be there fundraising for people who have been taken to jail by moneylenders and so on. That's not to justify anything. Because if you asked me, maybe at some point we need to have a salaries and remuneration commission. But we can discuss that on another day.
Yes. Just a final one from me, Joe.
Particularly for this.
Yeah, a final one from me, a kind of two-pronged question. Is this a worthy fight? And there are other fights that you should be looking at. We have PLU going to massacre, exploiting this fight. And are you ready for egg on the face, so to speak, if it turns out badly?
Egg on the face from Pilau?
No, from embarrassment.
Pilau can do whatever it wants.
Like BMK called me naive. Egg on the face, like people calling you naive.
Well, people can call us all manner of things. We are here. And it's important that certain things are put into proper context. The reason I was talking about, yes, we earn salaries and so on, that then there's things which are not explainable, yeah? When, regardless what you want to call it, when you say we are going to meet and we are awarding ourselves money for I don't know what. In 2017, Honorable Katundu here, and the committee was chairing, they probed the 6 billion shilling handshake. You remember? 42 government officials were paid 6 billion because they saved government about 2.4 trillion shillings, an arbitration in London. And
was it the handshake?
Yes, that's the famous
handshake,
or infamous handshake. The reasoning was, you guys already earn a salary for doing this work. Never mind that actually there is something they did. They saved government money. But the reasoning, and even the report that was produced by Kosase then, in fact, they were saying, one, you get a salary for this. Two, you're soliciting for this money and the particular amount to go to particular people and so on. And they're even saying the IGG should investigate and prosecute because it was problematic, yeah? You're already earning money for this. So it's, never mind that actually they've done something spectacular. So for our colleagues who sat a few months into office, what exactly are you awarding yourselves? So what spectacular thing have you done? Never mind that the other ones had done something spectacular, but they were earning a salary for doing that. That's what they're supposed to do. Oscar, when you come here on time and do an incredible show, that's what you're expected to do, yeah? That's what should happen, yeah? And so with all of that and the public saying, you guys have got to be accountable. You deal with the situation.
Okay. I've just checked quickly. Katesh was not one of the handshake people, so you are not hitting him below the belt.
I was there, but I was not part of the handshake, but I was maliciously put on the first list.
Yeah.
That came out.
I thought you were going to say I was maliciously left out.
No. I didn't. I was not a lawyer
to go to London and. So, Katesh, the whereas we're saying these people may end up with egg on their face, you are in an unlucky position of NRM that NRM now is going to vote for Mpuuga.
Unlucky?
Eh?
You said
in
unlucky?
an unlucky or unfortunate situation that Right Honourable Mpuuga might be saved by the NRM party, because right now a lot of NRM party are really supporting Right Honourable Mpuuga, and I think PLU went to Masaka to show support for Honourable Mpuuga.
No, first of all, my young brother Joel here, the youngest Lop, as a brother, I wish him very, very well to succeed.
When people start a conversation like that,
yes, I
you
wish
listen
him
in carefully.
at
They
a personal level,
probably
he knows.
don't wish you well.
No,
Personally,
At a personal level, he knows. Actually, I'm his resident in his constituency. I wish him well because the young man.
These are the people who ask us for school fees.
Yeah.
As MPs.
He's a young man, you're in politics, and I really, honestly, from the bottom, wish him well. Unfortunately, he has started on a journey of self-destruction. I read the statement, and I'm glad he's not the one who issued it, by the acting president. The last sentence in that statement, that the public statement dismissing or recalling Mpuuga says, in the coming days, the party will initiate the relevant processes to effect this resolution. And I'm glad he said they know what they are doing. But it's not going to happen that you are going to remove Mpuuga, because there is no other way other than coming with a motion, convincing the parliament to remove him in accordance with Rule 110. So this statement is like writing on the water. You know, when you write on water, there is nothing you have actually written. Mpuuga is not going anywhere. The best that can happen, you write on the water.
Writing on water.
Okay, using not using. That is not writing. You just
You see the letters, they are
reflecting.
metallic.
Okay, but if you switch off the lights, then there is no writing. For me, I think that strategically there are mistakes that the party is making, that is taking it into self-destruction. Because while all this is happening, for us we are on the ground mobilizing, and we are seeing this particular region, central region now, becoming a theater of faction. And the party which should be holding it together is actually the one promoting, all these sprinters. Mpuuga, of course, you can fire him, but he's a seasoned person. He's been around for long. He's well respected. You cannot expect that he will go down. His career cannot end just because you wish it to happen. And I can tell you that you might actually make him stronger. But why in life it's not good to issue a threat that you cannot implement. If you say you are recalling a commissioner and you know very well that you cannot, you will not succeed, why issue it? Why don't you find the other ways of executing your man-8-man syndrome and attempt to finish the man? But you cannot. So what is happening, Oscar, is, when we were young, we used to go to the bush to look for fruits. So when you are going into the thick bush, you get a panga, you go on clearing to create a path. As you are clearing, you are cutting old grass, new grass, just to create a path to go and get some fruits. This is what is happening, Man eat man, but the consequences are much bigger. We have a few years into elections. The party is eating itself. We are waiting, of course, in Parliament to see.
Why are you worried?
No, we are waiting, and I can tell you that I will attend every session because I would like to see how this one ends. How you come to Parliament to remove Mpuuga. It's not going to happen, but we are waiting to see. Maybe all of us are new in politics. There are many miracles that happen, but my view is that you have successfully diverted yourself and we are capturing the ground very well because no. In fact, in the next election, if I was to advise, is that there should be we should not repeat mistakes of getting too much security mistakes happening because
but yesterday, I'm told Parliament, you had security all over.
But you see what is happening in Masaka. True. Now, Masaka, did you see any guns?
Yes. Yes. Kainerugaba came with the battalion.
Were you there? I was with you in Parliament.
But he was live on TV.
Did you come to the battalion on TV? You watched the same TV as I watched.
No.
So but no one goes to PLU with guns. And I think guns are usually for a different party.
So for me, I am the disappointment is that while I wish success for some of my young brothers and friends in opposition,
you don't want there to be excuses.
I think that you can oppose President Museveni, but out of all the 100% things you oppose against him, you should be able to pick one or two things to say, okay, I don't like this man, but how has he held? How has he held people that he opposes together? How has he managed to consolidate? Because you can get power. I can tell you, if NUP cannot manage its internal situation like this one, how can you manage power if you got power in one day? You cannot manage. This is what we have, the tragedy we are seeing in South Sudan, in Sudan. People came on the street, this man must go, and then suddenly the country the man went, yes. But where is the country? The country is lost. So this is the risk that Ugandans will not take. You cannot come close at power with this kind of syndrome. You must demonstrate that you have capacity to build internal democracy, to solve problems in the party. But if you eat yourself up, the man-eat-man syndrome, you will continue smelling at power, and then one by one, you will join the ruling party along the way.
Okay. Derek, it's happenings in Parliament. You heard how Katesh started saying, I love you, Joel, personally. But now I'm going to watch what's happening, how you present. If we're saying in street language, Katandi Kabutandisi. So, and then I teased him, is the Honorable Mpuuga going to be protected by NRM or PLU in Masaka? How do you see this being played out?
But Oscar, you see, before he answers, the grounds for impeachment, it's either incompetence, insanity, or inability to perform. Or misconduct. So you have to demonstrate. It is not about NRM supporting or what. You must come with these grounds and tell us why you want to remove someone.
And in any case, it involves a vote.
Where I can support the opposition position, even when I'm in NRM, if the grounds are there. So why do you write on water when you know that the writing is in vain?
Another qualification of an NRM person supporting Honorable Mpuuga.
Oscar, from where I stand, and there have been reading the political climate, especially within NUP, is that NUP is actually giving us what they want us for. NUP has been...
A ghetto?
I mean, Joel here and his principal have always told us and warned us that if you can't bring Parliament to the ghetto, we shall bring the ghetto to Parliament. And in the way they are doing things in Parliament is much like the things are done in the ghetto. We have seen them demonstrate that even at national politics when they went, filed a petition in the High Court for, what they called alleged election petition. And they withdrew it almost unceremoniously. And they said, for us, we've made a statement. And here, if you asked Senyonyi and even the Honorable Chagulanyi, that will Mpuuga be dismissed from his position. I know in their heart of hearts, they know very well that he cannot move from that position. And then you ask them, what are you trying to achieve? And they will say, like he has said, we know what we are doing. I think NUP has been doing things very, very unusually, that they have come to be a shock to many people who have been following the politics of Uganda.
Them to be usual.
Yes, who have been following the politics of Uganda for a very long time.
So they will not take Katesh's advice.
The Honorable Katesh will be surprised that this is happening, but because I mean, they have demonstrated the politics unusual the way they have done. I remember covering the Honorable Chagulanyi in his MP contestation in Chadondo East. That was the first time I saw a political contestant or a candidate who never moved in his car. That entire Chadondo, he always moved on foot, either trotting, running, sweating, and all that. And I covered the other politicians who were running against him
and lost.
Who were running against him. The honorable
not Katuntu.
No, not the Honorable Katuntu.
The names are similar.
No, the Honorable Kantinti, Apollo, Mwada Nkunyinji, Sebalu, they always were in their cars, waving, stopping, talking to a group of youth and whoever. The Honorable Chagulanyi gave us the hardest campaign to cover. We had to always trot behind him, run behind him to get the best shot. You get? So
you must have left the campaign very healthy.
I have a picture. I have a picture that one photographer
have left the campaign very
healthy. I have a picture that one photographer took of me, and I was all gutted with dust. So what I'm trying to read here is whether the NUP achieves what they actually want from where we sit, who have followed politics as usual, and whether they don't achieve it, I am very sure there's a lot of political points that are going to score. Because if these allegations had come up and they kept quiet on the Honorable Mpuuga, and yet evidence was very clear, we would have poked our fingers at them. We're saying, okay, you have been abusing NRM for squandering public funds. You have been calling the president all sorts of names. Why is it that you can't touch your own? But that they have attempted to touch their own. Then I feel that they are shaping a kind of narrative where they are saying that even our own, if you go astray, we can actually sanction you. We can actually call you up. And I feel that's the politics unusual. Like the Honorable Katesh is trying to tell us that in NRM, when you steal, we come into the closet and beat you from there, and we reinstate you into positions. We know of very many controversial stories that have been running about the stealing of Mabati and all that. And I know that they were taken probably into the closet, beaten from there, and then taken back to the public. NUP is trying to beat their own from the public, and we are attacking them. Why beating your own from the public? I don't know what Ugandans want, but from where I sit, they are doing things unusual, just like they warned us.
Okay, Honorable Samajo.
You know, Joel is my boss.
So you must start the way Katesh started.
I am his shadow minister. So at the risk of earning a sacking. Yes.
But for him, the rules.
So I must trade.
Katesh, when you are away, he said the speaker is very powerful, so he can only jump on the table only once. You are so now he has another powerful
I must
role.
trade carefully. I think first of all, the matter of the Honorable Mathias Mpuuga was not a legal matter right from the beginning for me. And I think NUP is still doing the same thing. You may not legally remove him, but you can extract, as Wandera said, some benefit by moving against him.
So in a teaching world, where a teacher cannot be sacked, what they do is they remove the timetable.
Yeah. So you continue earning the salary.
But there's no timetable. You leave the time, you come and look at the timetable, because a school cannot sack you. Like a government school, it cannot sack you, so they just remove the timetable.
So this matter is being politically handled. And I don't think the aim is to remove him, because we've been with no opposition commissioner since the Honorable Zaake was removed. But they did not seek to replace him at that time. So in terms of politics, yes, they will succeed. In terms of law, they will not remove him. I'll give you examples. Oscar was the chief opposition whip in the last parliament. Because of our internal FDC contradictions and elections, immediately the Amriat took over, they instructed me to go and remove Cecilia Ogwal as a commissioner and replace him with Mwijuchi. They also asked me to remove Anita Mongo as a vice to Katuntu and replace him with Kasibande. And I was a very abiding worker of the party. So even Abdul was asked to remove you. And I sympathize with my boss, the Honorable Joel. So when you are doing work on behalf of the party, that the party is not in power, it's not very easy. So I read to the Speaker Kadag, removing Abdu, Anita Mongo, and Cecilia Ogwal. Kadag first he kept quiet. Then the headquarters asked me, write her a reminder. I wrote the reminder. She kept quiet. Now I went on the floor and raised the matter. She said, you leave those matters to me, I will handle. Then I said, maybe I need to go to her office. I went to the office and she told me, do you know the term of office for commissioners? I said, I know. She said, okay, if you know, they will serve. And they served until the term ended. Katuntu, Anita Mongo, and Cecilia Ogwal. So the attempt to remove them legally didn't work. So they remained and served up to the end. In fact, Kasibande was never even processed at all, until eventually when subsequently the term came to an end and we brought another person. So the speaker can frustrate you. So Kasibande was meant to have been a vice chairperson of Kosase. Even when the term ended, Kadaga said he will not be. I tried and failed. We went pleading. Then Kasibande was on radio talking about Kadaga. The pleading now collapsed. Eventually, we had to bring Kasozi. Said, okay, we didn't act like the jewels who said, okay, you can go to hell with your position. For us, we said we wanted the position, we went and put Kasozi. So Parliament can be very frustrating, and very frustrating. And I remember when General Muntu came to ask me to be a chief opposition whip, I declined. He said, very difficult to deal even with MPs themselves, your own group. And he said, Semuju, we are training you to be a leader. You cannot choose how. He said, okay, if it's a punishment, I have accepted. So I went in, because you can imagine, I told you here one time, Odongoto was the first to tell me, Semuju, you are too junior to be my leader.
Yeah.
He said, okay, I will not oppose you, but please never consider yourself my leader. But you had also people like Abdu who are senior, and you know they are senior. I was covering Abdu as a journalist. Now they are asking me to be his supervisor.
Or so, to remove him.
Even to remove him, not easy work. What Wafula did when he became the leader of opposition in Parliament, he relinquished his position as a spokesperson of FDC. I'm not saying Joel should do the same, but he said, okay, let me concentrate now on this one. So that's how difficult Parliament can be. And later, I think we will need to have a retreat of us people in opposition to school ourselves on how to do opposition politics in a formal setup. Because these positions are there. By law, you are entitled to them. But they are being processed by NRM. and when you reach out, they say for you, I set out. It's not easy. It's not easy. But as I said, I don't think NOP is engaged in a legal process. They are engaged in politics. In politics, that's okay. There are things you do. I remember the Honorable Rodime used to tell me that what we are going to do today, the only value is a nuisance value, but we'll go ahead and do it. And then we'll go and extract the nuisance value in it and go away. No wonder I was one time charged for being a public nuisance.
So it was a correct charge.
The time they took you to Luzira.
Yeah, I went to Luzira, and the charge was being a public nuisance. And we went through a full trial, and I defeated the government. So the politics that we do in Uganda is very difficult. I remember, I've said this story many times, when we are preparing to go for the showdown on the removal of age limit. In our meetings, we had people like Katondu. And we said we should extract value by having them. We said, Katondu, you can go and speak to the speaker. People who are substantial. So we said they can play that role to make Kadaga see the point. Even if they are going to drag through this, at least they shouldn't do it at gunpoint. I remained chairing most of the meetings. In the meeting, the Honorable Chaguranyi had just come. I had the Honorable Zaake and Alan. They said, when we reach Parliament, let's just beat them immediately. I am chairing a meeting. Then there's no, we can't. Even people on the street will think we are mad. Let's first start by talking. Then there the beating can follow. So we spent 3 days. What do we do first? Do we go and begin with the beating?
These were MPs then?
Yes. I am chairing a meeting as Chief Opposition Whip.
You have forgotten to mention Munyagwa.
No. Those are the three who told me when we reach Parliament, it is beating. Then the others, no, we said, a speaker is a woman. You can't go and remove those things, the colonial thing they put on their head. Don't remove it. Don't get nearer. It's difficult. Eventually, I said, okay, let's go in Parliament. Allow those who want to talk first. If they are talking too much, then you beat. Then we move. So the beating started before the talking. So Joel Sanyonyi's work is very difficult because you are reading people who are self-contained. Each MP wants to think for himself. But also we are motivated by different interests. But also our conduct is different. So what we went through that time just to provide leadership was very difficult. Then the NRMs will make it even difficult for you. So eventually we went in and the results are known. We were put in a car, arrested, beaten. So the legal process protects the commissioner. You can't remove him. But the political process can happen because we made as much noise as possible when the Parliament refused to remove the Abudu and Anita Mongo and Cecilia Ogwa. But they had to serve a full term. So when it ended, Karaga said, okay, now you can remove. But even when we removed, he said, Kasivante, no.
Will not come. But it was the same when you had FDC faction of beating and FDC faction of negotiating and building structures and so on.
The same. So parties are not easy to run. But eventually, sometimes it's just politics. Because people who said when they were fighting Muntu that he was a boardroom politician, and they said as soon as they take over, they will disband this career in Parliament, you all must come on the street. I have never seen them anywhere on the street. This was just a slogan like many NRM slogans. He said, yeah, we'll be on the street reclaiming our victory, we'll make sure we fight these fellows and take over. And they said, us who were with the Muntu boardroom politician, we remove you. I survived. They didn't remove me from Parliament that time. But the things they said they will do, they don't even do 1%. It was just a slogan to take over leadership, which they successfully did.
And now here I am, a moderator, always looking for an FDC politician, and I can't find one.
I am FDC. until I leave.
I was about to ask that. The man is even in blue, is in the blue council.
And deliberately.
I will not challenge.
I am FDC,
FDC
until May next year. the Constitution then allows me to change my affiliation, and I have issued notice that May next year I will change. But between now and then, I am FDC.
Right. So, Honorable Katuntu, I don't remember with the question I started with Honorable Senyonyi. Say, Waso had sent me a message, when you live in Uganda, you are betting all the time. So, and you've heard from Senyonyi that they know what they are doing. Have they made you believe that they know what they are doing?
No, they don't owe it to me. They owe it to themselves. If they know what they are doing, well and good.
Yeah.
That's not a problem. We have to congratulate them. Let me say this. One, the Right Honorable Joel says they know the law. He only fell short to tell the listeners what is the law. The law, for the benefit of those who may know it, is that the administration of the Parliaments Act that creates the position of the Commission of Parliament and the rules of procedure provide the process of how somebody can access that position as commissioner, and also process as somebody as to how somebody can lose that position as commissioner. The reasons are given, and the process of both ascending to the position and then leaving is also given. Elaborate. So, to me, it's quite elaborate. And from what I see, it is not their decision. Theirs is a wish. But that wish must now be put into action through the process, a lawful and legal process in Parliament, because that position is much as the holder is designated by the party, but it is a parliamentary position. It's different from LOP. LOP, you are designated and you are a position of the party. They can remove you anytime, actually even one day. You are LOP tomorrow. The Parliament has nothing to do with it, according to the law. Unfortunately for the commissioner, it is a parliamentary position. And the process is very clear. You have to initiate a process signed by a minimum number of people, which is a third of all members of Parliament. As to whether the National Unity Platform can marshal a third of MPs, that one I leave it to them. They know what they are doing. But not only a third, if you are now to reach the voting, the other one is initiating the process. But the voting, you need at least a half. As to whether they can do that, I also leave it to them. They have the numbers, I think, because they know what they are doing, they will succeed. That's what I think when he says, we know what you are doing. What I may think as a person is one, and maybe Semuju puts it, but quite politely. The National Unity Platform wants to drag Mpuuga to the sewer. If you are to ask the other girl, policies by policies. Policies by policies.
To the ghetto or to the sewer?
So what? Because the first thing they would have done, there's one where they have powers. They did where they have LOP. Because even by the time LOP, this issue was not there. Now this one has come. It compounds what Joe was saying, that it has a historical background to it. There is another position which the Right Honorable Mathias Mpuuga holds, and that's the vice president of their party. They have their own process, and they can even remove him without consulting anybody, but going through their own process. That one they don't want to touch. But they want this one where they think it is difficult. That's where they want to go. So
the difficult one.
Yeah, difficult, literally impossible. Because I don't think even amongst the NUP members of Parliament, they can raise a half to censure Mpuuga. That one, I know for sure, 100%. And I dare anybody say a half of the MPs of NUP will censure Mpuuga. It will not be possible. So, now that they are faced with that problem or that challenge, they say, now what do we do? Let us drag him slowly, maybe until he says, I think let me go away. What is this? So they know what they are doing. This is politics. We leave it to their politics. According to Derek here, they are going to achieve something. Yes.
Or according to Semuju, they are achieving something.
Yes, they are, I don't know.
And according to Katesh, they are imploding.
Destruction achievement.
No, you see, NUP is a little bit of a lucky party because, one, it has some history to look to. That there are parties which have gone through the same processes. They are there. I mean, you have history.
DP, your beloved UPC.
Oh, my DNA UPC, my once beloved FDC.
Why are you pointing at me? Next year.
Until May. In fact, I had to warn Oscar and say, the man is even in blue.
But he said, I am.
Yes.
In the future.
Yes, he's there.
So that's why NUP, in my view, should be able to look and say, okay, these parties have had challenges over time. What has been the challenges? How did they address this problem? Are we going to address it differently, or we address them the same way, but ours we expect different results? And that's all up to them.
You see, the trouble, when all this happened, what I told you, being instructed to move this and that, the MPs actually were now drafting a law. It had been drafted to take away the power from the parties. They said, if you keep making noise now, we will no longer allow you to nominate a commissioner. A law had been drafted. Then as I was fighting to remove cartoon, now I had to fight the law. But it had been drafted that you will no longer now have powers of choosing a commissioner or chairpersons of committees. So all this, I wait you, my boss.
Let me tell you why that idea came. When I joined Parliament, not very long ago, of course.
Of course.
Not very long ago.
Of course.
So did you want to be born in Parliament?
So, parliamentary committee chairpersons were actually being elected by the committees themselves. That was the law.
Under the movement.
Yes, under the movement system. And then the commissioners, backbench commissioners, because the law, the Administration of Parliament Act came later, they were being elected by the whole parliament. Later on, they changed and gotten these powers away from Parliament to the parties. But the biggest crisis was that sometimes the interest of the party headquarters
did not align
with the interests of MPs. And actually today, there is let me tell you, Oscar, today there is a big problem today. If you were to bring that law, even these NRMs are going to vote it 100%, because I know what they think about it now.
Actually, in Chankwanzi, when we were last in Chankwanzi retreat, the members demanded that we should be able to elect.
You restate what you had done away with.
So, anything can happen. It's better when you start these small boiling points, you avoid creating even losing control.
And there was one thing as I end, Oscar. I'll give my example of FDC. FDC were the problem. One, Entebbe Road, Najananko, had a problem. The majority of the people who were running the headquarters actually were not MPs, but they had even lost in elections. So now, from there, they really wanted to guide and control those who had one election. So we had that big conflict, and at one time, really, it had reached a boiling point. Anyway, that's for another day.
Derek wondered, Joel is seated right next to you, so I can ask the question. In your opinion, as many people are thinking, perhaps, or especially in the NRM, would you say that NUP is imploding to the happiness of NRM?
I've been sharing the microphone with Joel, and I hope I'm very well protected.
He's still very normal, but in a few years, when he's a powerful LOP, he may come with his own microphone and chair.
In 2022, around September, I broke the story about the implosion of NUP and the Honorable Mpuuga. 2022. And the issues they had at that time. And I wrote how they had internal fights about the system, the style of work of the Honorable Mpuuga, and the disagreement therein. And I didn't get a direct response from the Honorable Joel Senyonyi, but I know of NUP people who called me and called me names. But I also know that the Honorable Mpuuga himself typed to me a message that I cannot mention on air about the implosion, and the sentiments were that I was on a fishing expedition and there was never any fight of that matter, of that kind. And if you asked me whether there is an implosion, I feel every democracy, every entity that subscribes to democracy certainly has disagreements. But how you settle those disagreements is one thing. It's another thing. And NUP can choose to settle the disagreements they have in whichever way they do, either for their good or not. Many people have been asking the questions of whether yesterday, the other day I had an interview with the leader of opposition, and one of the questions I asked him was whether the coming of the DP bloc or the members who left DP to join the National Unity Platform were a blessing in disguise or a curse in disguise. And I know we had a very and we had a very, very big argument on that. But I know that there has been a picture of a big disagreement between the traditional NUP, the people who moved from people power into National Unity Platform, and the people who joined them along the way, especially those that came from DP. And this is something that I'm very sure Joe is going to disagree with me, but we have seen all the undertones and the sentiments that have been there when there is total disagreement at party level. But like I said, any entity that subscribes to democracy will always have those disagreements. For instance, when we saw that the Honorable Mpuuga openly disagreed with the NUP about the formation, the bringing of two terms for an MP in their party, he disagreed about that, and then I kept wondering whether in the formation of the NUP constitution, whether the Honorable Mpuuga participated or not. But again, I know Honorable will have to answer whether they are imploding. But in my view, there are disagreements and there's a seemingly implosive kind of situation in NUP.
I've stopped you sharing a microphone with him. So, Right Honorable Senyonyi, is and we have just a few minutes. Is NUP imploding?
No. You see, and as Derek has been saying, every kind of entity there will be challenges that will arise. You deal with them. I mean, even in families, something will arise and you've got to deal with it, with your child, with your wife, with your husband, whatever the case might be, and you deal with the issue. So to those who are excited that we are imploding, they've said this about us from the time we set out many years ago. Those ones, they are not going to last. They are going to implode. They are going to explode. They are going to, I don't know. There will always be those situations. You deal with them. So here is one. We are dealing with it. Yeah. That's Katundu is saying.
So I want to commend my brother. The way he's handling it is very measured.
Very measured.
Calculative.
That is what a lope should be.
Yeah, a lope is measured.
This is very surprising, but I commend.
Surprising? No, that's a lope. So, Abdu, you can sit down. Yeah, all of 5 minutes.
The man is stretching.
He's stretching because you're a senior parliamentarian here.
You were here attacking Arsenal. The man is wearing an Arsenal jersey.
That was his fan mate one day. We have just a few minutes left on Katundu, and your birthday of long-term birthday was again on parliamentary floor requesting the speaker to give a statement, and the speaker said we cannot even tamper with hearsay. Is that the way to respond?
Well, everybody has got a right, in my view, to raise any matter of national importance. That's a given. But you also need to know you don't raise issues for its own sake. You raise issues knowing how would this debate end up. If you are raising an issue where, for example, the presiding officer is the subject, how do you expect him or her to preside over that sort of session? It becomes difficult. That's number one. Actually, the law as it is now forbids it. You need to read the Zaake case, the constitutional case. So once an issue involves the presiding officer, you cannot preside over it. So you can't raise it to that one. Having said that, on issues of national importance, the rules provide that you go and discuss with the presiding officers. Then he programs you. And that had it been done. I don't know whether Joel had raised the issue with the presiding officer prior to it, because either him or the presiding officer did not told us that they had already had a discussion about it. As to hearsay or referring to press, actually, that is also not correct. And I'm sure, I remember yesterday, the Right Honourable Joel said, by the way, we've just been discussing an issue of hearsay of papers of Honourable Alan. And Alan said, no, it is me who brought it to my constituency. Alan is also a NUP MP. So the rules also provide it. However legitimate an issue is, legitimate an issue, it should be founded within the rules to be discussed on the floor.
1 minute, Honorable Samajo.
You see, I want to commend the courage of my leader, the Honorable Joel Osenyoy. It is not easy to take on the speaker. I have said that before.
Severally.
Yes. I know I go to a radio station where a moderator is a teacher, not this one. And that moderator in that show, because I go to many radio stations, he told me he doesn't want to discuss Janet Museveni because he's a teacher. So sometimes there are limitations in our work. There are limitations. And I commend his courage. Yesterday he put up a show. But again, like the earlier matter we spoke about of Honorable Mpuuga, because we also go to Parliament to do politics. We are politicians. We can do politics about it, but legally to deal with it is also not simple. Difficult. But the politics we can do.
Your 1 minute, Honorable Katesh, because we are really out of time.
About it? Well, when I went into Parliament yesterday, I met some colleagues from NUP who told me about what had happened in the shadow cabinet and why they think they will not be involved in certain games. Then I said, let me see what's going to happen on the floor. And like my brother Semju says, I think for me, the Right Honorable Senyonyi did what is expected of him to try and raise issues. My problem with him is that he needs to be a bit tactical.
Okay.
Because
we are
find,
tactical. We are out of time.
Yes.
Derek Wandera, you 1 minute.
Yeah, otherwise you get frustrated.
Derek Wandera, you 1 minute.
I know that NUP has always had an issue with the way the Honorable Mpuuga was handling matters. Yes. And when I see, especially when I saw the Honorable Senyonyi taking on the speaker that way, I am thinking probably this is what NUP expects.
They wanted.
Yeah, this is what they wanted, and I've got it.
So we are going to watch them. Final word on the gang by the
Oscar.
Right Honorable Joe Senyonyi.
As leaders, it's important that we are accountable. None of us is above reproach. People will say all manner of things. The other day, there's things that were written about the Honorable Semuju, and he had the courtesy to respond. That's what leadership calls for. So I think that the Right Honorable Speaker, it's unfortunate she's treating this matter the way she is, because she first said those are social media issues. I said, but Honorable Zaake has been twice sent to the Rules Committee of Honorable Katun to over things on social media. Why didn't you say those are just social media things? But also scapegoating to say, you see, these are homosexuals and so on. I think it's not right either, because these are Ugandans raising issues. Respond to them. Respond. You are duty bound. Because when you speak that way, it's as if there's something you've got to hide. It's as if you're trying to push things under the carpet. So respond. Like I saw the Honorable Semuju respond. He could have said, to hell with your nonsense. But he did give a response. And that's what we are saying. That's how you get to be accountable as a leader.
Thank you. We are out of time.
Yes,
Oscar, you signed out the show. Now it's taking us to Bararo issues.
Each one had 1,000 cows. So one of them was boasting. One had 1,000, another one had 500. So this one says, me with 500 next year, I will have more cows than yours. And this one told him, you want to tell me that mine will be on family planning? So as you plan, just to whatever
thank you.
Plan, just know
that one has 5,000 cows. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, Star Cafe, for powering the gang. Leader of for you, Honorable Katuntu, with your jersey of Arsenal. Thank you. Yes. Don't start violence now. Thank you, Derek Wandera. Thank you, Honorable Katesh. Good luck with the competition this afternoon. I am Oscar Semwe Amsoke, and I shall see you next week.